What's up, everybody? Eddie Barco here with the Nebula Music Podcast, and today I'm excited to be speaking with JC Clifford, co-owner for Drumtacs. If you've never heard of what Drumtacs are, they're essentially little discs that are made out of polymer that you put on drum heads to control the overall sound. Now, if you're a drummer, you're excited for anything that helps you control the sound because, as you know, drums ring a lot and it's just hard to control the overall sound for our drums. So I knew I had to sit down with JC and figure out how he and his partner did it. So let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right in. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I am very excited to have JC Clifford join me. JC, how are you?
Dude, I'm awesome, Eddie. How about yourself, brother? How you doing?
Dude, I am doing great. Like I told you, it's 110 degrees where I'm at. I'm in California, and it's just insane because it's been relatively cold-ish for the past couple days, and then all of a sudden today it just spiked, and everyone is running around like a headless chicken. Everyone's hot. They don't know what to do.
It's funny. You saying 110, man. Yeah, you tack on 2 more degrees to that, and we barely eclipsed half of that in Pennsylvania today. I think our high was 64.
Really?
So it was 52 when I woke up this morning, and it's an unseasonable little snap of cool weather, and it's raining, but it's like that constant downpour. You know, then trickle, like nothing bad. It's actually been like kind of one of those lazy, comforting kind of days that, you know, you have to really struggle to, you know, get up and really kind of get motivated because you could just kind of hang in bed and relax and, you know, listen to it rain. And so it was, I had a little extra shot of caffeine this morning and had to be up at the studio for around 11 a.m. So I was up and moving at like 4:30 today. And, it was a struggle, to be honest with you, to stay in, to get out of bed, because as soon as I woke up, I heard the rain coming down, and it's nice and relaxing. And it's like, you know, you have to kind of pull yourself up by your bootstraps at that time and say, you know, well, we have shit to do today, so we got to get going.
How true. I mean, I love those, you know, days where you can kind of just relax and listen to the rain. It's probably one of the most relaxing sounds I've ever heard. It's just hearing the rain hit the window and then it go down your house. You can just lay there and just listen to that and fall asleep to it, which is weird.
Oh my God. Yeah, it is. It's just absolutely hypnotic, especially in the mountains up here. Cause I'm in between 2 mountain ranges, and it's just, you know, you hear the trees and even the birds and stuff when it's raining, you know, the birds don't go away. And, it's just all of that layered, just comforting sounds. Yeah. It's, you know, sometimes it's kind of cool, though, to sit and reflect for an extra 5 or 10 minutes while you're listening to it. The trap is not to fall back asleep.
True.
You know?
You're in Pennsylvania, right?
Yep. Yeah, northeast corner. I'm right in the Pocono Mountains, right outside of New York, Jersey, and PA. I'm right in the corner. Nice.
I imagine it's very beautiful.
Oh, God, yeah. We're at the intersection of the Appalachian Trail off of Route 191. So,
oh, nice.
You come up through, you know, the bottom of PA. The Appalachian Trail then runs up into the, you know, the New England states then from us. So, yeah, it's absolutely super mountainous. And we have a sanctuary called Hawk Mountain where in the fall we take the kids and you can see bald eagles and birds of prey, you know, raptors, and it's super, super nature oriented. Absolutely love it.
Wow. When you said raptors for a second there, I thought you were talking about Jurassic Park.
Well, oddly enough, my dad was a biologist. They're similar. They're our form of Jurassic Park raptors. It's basically they're an attacking kind of type of bird of prey, you know, that you really have to be wary of when you're hiking. Because raptors will defend their young. The females will swoop and they'll go for the back of your neck to protect their. Oh, dead serious, man! It's just to protect their nest and their babies. Absolutely.
Wow.
So yeah, there's protected areas. More when you get up into Connecticut. Connecticut has kind of a really influx of breeding grounds, but. Yeah, where we used to train in Connecticut, a buddy of mine, Todd, and I would go into an area that every maybe 15th tree you would see during mating season, they would have warning signs out, like not to go into certain areas because it was breeding time and it's a raptor area. So Yeah, it's a serious thing. We joke. We used to always say it made us run faster and train harder, but it's real. Yeah, more for kids. You got to watch.
I did not expect to learn about predatory birds today. Well, honestly, JC, I really want to thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join me. And guys, if you guys don't know who JC is, I guarantee you, if you're in the drumming community or a drummer or know a drummer, you know his product, Drumtacs. Drumtacs is definitely one of the things that has been killing in the drumming community. They're these little like dampening things that you put on the drum head. And I can talk about it for a while, but I probably won't do any justice to what Drumtacs is and what JC's all about. So why don't you just let us know a little bit, who you are, what you've done, and then tell us a little bit about Drumtacs.
Oh, absolutely, man. Well, like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to have me on, and it's my pleasure to, always chat about just life in general, and networking and meeting people and moving forward are, I think, the key to keeping everybody young. And I'm going to be 51 this year. I feel like mentally, at least, I feel like I'm going to be 21. Physically,
Nice.
It gets a little more difficult every year physically, but you do what you need to do.
Are you heading to Vegas then for your 21st mental birthday?
Wow, it's funny. I am so anti-Vegas, not to get off on a tangent. I'm not a gambler. I don't go I'm not like a 4 a.m. kind of stay out real late person, but man, I do love the shows. I would go for the shows. Absolutely.
Yeah.
For my 21st mental birthday, I would probably want to go to Ireland and actually visit family. Like as mundane as that sounds, that's kind of me in a nutshell. My celebration stuff is doing something kind of off the beaten trail that, is more for me, not necessarily like a big party or something like that. Life's a party.
Life is a party. Yes.
When it's time to celebrate, you do something for yourself, that maybe grows you in a different direction. But thank you. Drumtacs actually has opened up the door to pretty much everything I'm doing for the last 4 years almost. And I'd be remiss in saying that it's not my product. It's basically Christian Beaulieu, my partner and co-owner of Drumtacs, invented it, and he owns the patents and does all the heavy lifting, and he runs the lab in Harrisburg. He makes the polymer. He keeps the R&D and development. And in a nutshell, he just really was never happy with anything on the market that could control, resonance, frequency, kind of the overtones coming out of drums. And he set out to make something that could control the tone, but not necessarily dampen or step on the actual sound or tone of each percussive product. So,
right.
And he patented a polymer that absorbs vibration and does exactly what it's supposed to do. It's more of a tonal control tab, not necessarily. You can use it as a dampener in its most rudimentary kind of capacity, like an oil-based gel or gaff tape, and all of them have their places, but they all have their limitations also. But we're finding that with the drummers that have really embraced our product is they're coming up with creative ways of using it that really we had not thought of in the beginning. But a lot of the touring pros like Kent Slusher with Luke Bryan and Rich Redmond, Jason Aldean, Ray Lazier with Korn, these guys will use tacs in the studio when they're recording to really control tone all across the board. But out on tour, they're using them on the reso heads underneath, leaving their tops wide open, just that full, more booming kind of sound. And a lot of them use them on cymbals, just to control the length of the note. If it's a smaller venue or a China or a Crash or just something that's really overtaking every mic on the kit, they'll put one up underneath in the dome. And then the further you get out to the rim, it doesn't take away the dynamics of the cymbal. It just literally shortens the length of the note, keeps the sound and the quality and that dynamic snap of each individual cymbal without, if you put a piece of tape on a cymbal underneath, you're literally just choking it. And it's just, you're deadening it. You're just making it not as loud because you're limiting the ring. Where a tack will absorb some of the vibration, but allow that ring actually to come through. So yeah, it's like we've been lucky because drummers are such a cool community that when they they find something new, they share it. And it's like, and they tell another drummer. And organically, we've grown because drummers just like to talk, and it's awesome. Just today, I mean, we've been on the market going on our 3rd year now. I was at our studio. Yeah, dude, like I said, it's been a fun ride. I mean, I went up to the studio today, and Chuck Treese, he's the original drummer from a band called McRad back in the 80s, which was a punk band in the Philly area. His claim to fame is he was the first black skateboarder to be on Skate magazine, like Skateboarder magazine cover back in the 80s. And Chuck is an all-around drummer, guitar player, bass player. I mean, he's played with everybody from Sting to like our local community. He's just that go-to session guy forever. He's in his 50s. He's about as old as me. But today was super cool. And if anybody out there wants to check out, our Instagram is Drumtacs. And I always find new and just cool videos and pictures and stuff to put up there. And I put one up today of Chuck because Chuck took a wooden skateboard beater that was designed for him. And on the one side, it's just a wooden flat edge. On the other side, he took a drum tack and he put the tack on the wooden end of the beater. And he's been using it for about a month now. And basically the neoprene has worn down and created like this really soft kind of edge to it.
Really?
And it gives it this 70s kind of old drum kick, like thump.
Interesting.
And we videotaped it today. Literally the sound quality, different.
How crazy is that?
And dude, like we would have never in a million, like that. We don't market it to put on your kick drum beater, but here's a guy he got creative, and now he's created this whole tonal kind of effect for himself, dude, I wake up in the day and I hope somebody's figured out just a new way to use it. It's cool. It's sleeping cool.
Most drummers will know what it is, but for someone who doesn't play drums, if you ever go to a drum set, like on a stage or at a studio, sometimes you'll see these little like plastic things on the drum heads or made out of like gel. I think they're called moon gels, or sometimes people will put tape on it. And that's, like you said, to make sure that the heads, they don't ring as much, right? But what you did is you basically took the concept of taking a polymers and you shaped it into a circle, and then you made it different, correct? And then that controls the tone of the drums without actually killing the sound of the drums.
Correct. Yeah. It's the polymer that Christian invented actually absorbs the vibration. It doesn't create a dead spot. Oil-based gels or gaff tape or any weighted thing like a wallet and again, all of these have their places. There's no one product that everybody has their tone. Use what works for you. Christian just invented a product that instead of that, dead spot, it allows it to breathe. It doesn't choke the drum out, so it doesn't kill the true tone of it. And the beauty of it is there is no oil and there's no gel, there's no residual, there's no adhesive. His patent is on it bonds at a molecular level. So it's the easiest way to explain it is there's like 1 million suction cups. And when you push down on a drum tack and adhere it to whatever, it's actually bonding to that material by these suction cups. So when you peel it off, there's no residual. It doesn't leave any mark. It doesn't melt. It doesn't, damage anything that it's on. So, you can put it on a cymbal and not have it leach into the cymbal itself, or, like a piece of tape. If you leave on a cymbal, when you go to take it off, dude, you got to almost ruin the cymbal to get all that gack, from the glue.
Which I hate. I absolutely hate that. You got to like scratch it off. It ruins your cymbals.
Yeah. Yeah. You can put a tack on a cymbal all day long and peel it off 1,000 times. It's actually going to leave the area cleaner than when you put it on, because the material actually bonds and it will pick up residual. And that's why every 4th or 5th time you move a tack, you should clean it. Little soap and water. You let it air dry, and then you stick that tack back on the carrying package that it came in, and you push down on it. You let it dry for like about an hour. And when you peel it back off that package, it actually reanimates the polymer and it's brand new again. So you got about a 16-month product, like in every pack of 4. legitimately, unless you're losing them or people are stealing them, one pack for $15.95, you've got some unlimited resources in your gig bag for at least 12 months. If you're aesthetically that kind of drummer that you don't like the neoprene to look like it, a rat chewed on it, that's the one thing. The neoprene will dry up and it'll get cracked. The tack still works, but it looks a little hideous, I've seen 2 and 3-year-old ones now that people are still using that work great. They look horrible, but they work, So to each their own.
They're functional. I still have the first batch that I bought. I think, when was the first time I met you? I think I bought mine like 2 years ago, through Amazon.
That's about it. Yeah, we've been on Amazon for about 2 years now. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I remember getting them, and I remember reaching out to you, and we talked for a little bit through email. And ever since then, I've still had them, and I've ordered a couple more. But the truth is, those still work just fine. And honestly, mine look fine. Like, they don't look that worn out. Like, obviously, they look a little old, but maybe it's just because I take care of them. I'm not sure.
Dude, that's exactly it. It's everybody, if you're not hitting them, if they're not in your line of, your playing field of play on a drum, if you have them on the top, they legitimately, they last too long. We laugh, it's like I told Christian, you need to invent some kind of something to inject into them that they disintegrate after a year and a half. We have no resale, for half the people that keep them for 2 years. So we need to sell a few products, but I'm kidding, of course, but if you take care of them, if you put them underneath, if you look at any picture of Jason Aldean's drummer, Rich Redmond, his black DW collector series that he's been using with Aldean now going on 3 years, any picture taken from the stage, with Rich up on the riser, you will see on his 2 rack toms, 2 Drumtacs on the reso heads, one at about 1 o'clock, and on the second rack tom, it's at about 11 o'clock, about 1.5 inches from the rim. And they are the same 2 tacks that I put on that kit myself personally 2.5 tours ago. So
wow.
all John does, and because they're underneath, they don't get any light. They don't get, they're kind of protected. They never get hit. He's had 2 tacks there for, the same 2 tacks.
He forgot about them. He just forgot that they're there.
The only person that moves them is John, his drum tech, John Hull. And John doesn't obviously change the reso heads every, show. He take the top ends. I think they change every show or every 2 shows. And then when he plays the Today Show, or if he's inside in the studio, God, we've been on so many shows thanks to Rich. I really am indebted. He's kind of the linchpin in Nashville that kind of got us the majority of our country drummers and guys like Ray Lazier and Troy Lucetta from Tesla. The tour right now, I'll be out with them on the 18th in a couple weeks. And nice. Troy uses tacks on everything. So he's one of those drummers that he's found the sound quality for this stadium and huge auditorium tour with Tesla, where he uses snare, 2 racks, and then his 2 floor toms. He's got 5 tacks across the board, just in different positions that have, give him the tone he's looking for. Which, dude, honestly, if I could say one thing that gives me goosebumps is just to be able to say that a drummer and a band that I idolized growing up, to see the product that you're associated with being used with just such an iconic band like Tesla. And for me, that's just the end of the trail for me. That just has made this journey totally worthwhile. I see pictures or Troy's talking about them, and it's just you got to pinch yourself sometimes, which is cool.
So what keeps you motivated? It seems like you made it.
No, but you know what though? And that's the killer right there. The day you say to yourself you've made it is you're done. You might as well just start folding up your tents. And I look at every day as a new challenge, because it's like anything. We're going through a process right now of a rebranding. Christian's actually made some enhancements to the product. We're going to be announcing in the next 60 days.
Nice.
We have a distributor right now out in California, Big Bang Distribution. We also have some certain individuals that kind of are taking their own ball in their own court and handling more of our social media and our web design and stuff now. Brady Hartman, he's actually dedicated some time now, and he's redoing our web pages. We're going to be probably offering a variety of different levels now instead of just a 4-pack, because we are finding drummers that only use one. And we figured, well, instead of having to buy 4, why don't we just make a 1-pack and make it for a couple bucks? You know, like a 4-pack's $15.95, but it's still $15.95. So for the kids that are out there that maybe have to go to mom and dad, or, you know, it's a lot easier to ask mom and dad for $5 than it is for $15.
Right.
And so we're going to make, we haven't really decided on the actual price point yet, but it's going to be in that 5 range or less. And we're just going to make them available where you'll be able to, we're in most 5-star drum shops now because of distribution, you know, the bigger, like Forks down in Nashville, and, you know, Fix out in Chicago and Hollywood, and, you know, the bigger drum shops have us, but our goal is to make sure it's every mom and pop drum shop out there. It's affordable for them to carry us, but more importantly, it's affordable for the people that are coming in the store for every walk to be able to say, oh yeah, I don't have an extra $15 or $20 right now, but I got an extra 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't limit them from buying or not buying. So.
But that's actually pretty smart to be able to take your product and take that feedback. I understand a little bit about having product and, you know, kind of being attached to it a little bit, right? But it seems that you have received feedback from plenty of customers that have, you know, wanted less or more or different things, right? And so I guess where I'm curious is, how do you guys decide which feedback to listen to and which one to not, which one to just ignore and just say, you know what, maybe that person's just being negative, but you know what, this feedback is good. Maybe we should try and implement it.
I think, well, it's like anything. It's communication is kind of, Christian and I try to talk at least once a week. We go times where we talk twice a day and sometimes only twice a month, but I think we listen to everything. And, this whole rebranding and reprocessing and stuff, you know, the nice thing is Brady, has been kind of like my videographer and photographer for all the clinics and events and stuff that I kind of do through my marketing company. And he showed an interest into getting more involved with Drumtacs. And a lot of this came from Christian and I listening to Brady. You know, it was Brady's idea to come out with the one tack. And I had heard from before people just, you know, and I'm going to make this sound funny, but it wasn't necessarily like a negative thing, but like what I've always heard is everybody wants to try one. Not necessarily to buy one, but they want to try one.
They definitely do.
Well, sure. And it's kind of like we have been such a small organic entity from day one that we did not have an advertising budget. We didn't have a marketing budget. We didn't have a promotion budget. Anything that we wanted to do, it came out of my pocket or it came out of Christian's pocket. So we really, honestly, I have 7 children. I've got 3 in college. I look at every penny and try to figure out how I can bend it in half and then only spend half of it. And Christian's in the same boat. So like jokingly, we're like, we don't have the money to just give away products. But now 2.5, 3 years into it, we have Brady kind of giving us ideas of, hey, why don't you try this? Or, hey, why don't you go after this? And I'm thinking about, wow, I've talked to drummers over the years that, you know, have always said, oh, well, just, yeah, what, can you give me one to try? And then Brady's like, well, why don't we just have one that's, you know, a single pack that's a couple bucks? It's like, you know, I think that like the key to what, you know, is you really have to take all of the feedback in. I don't honestly think there is negative feedback out there. I mean, some people, I think, just like to be negative and be the hater and just, you know, look at me kind of thing online. But, you know, I can count on 2 hands the amount of comments that I've seen or heard that I honestly went, well, he's just trying to get a rise out of me, you know, like it really has nothing to do with the product. It's more of a, you know, somebody accused us once of when we were $19.95, which we sold a lot of product when we were charging $20.
I bought them at that price. They were worth it. They were definitely worth it.
Well, and that was it. And the point that we were, I guess, trying to get across is that things that are worth it are worth every penny, and honestly, at that point, because of production and manufacturing and where we were at, it was costing us almost 3 times as much as what it costs us now to produce one pack. And we had to charge $19.95 or we wouldn't have been able to sell it. And now with volume and as we sell more, the cost comes down. And that's our idea is instead of staying at $19.95 and glomming the extra margin and putting it in our pocket, we were going to just literally transfer that over to the consumer and make it more affordable for everybody. So, and it worked, it's kind of, things still are progressing, But the one person made the comment about, it probably costs, it was like, when you guys get off your high horse and stop charging $20, like it's really worth it. It probably only cost you like 80 cents to make and something about your being pigs or something like that. And I just was on the floor because what I wanted to, my response I wanted to say is, well, next sales meeting we have on our yacht, the Drumtacs yacht that is moored outside of the Caribbean, of all the money that we're making on each pack of Drumtacs, I'll bring that up to the owner, to Christian, but you don't, you bite your tongue and you laugh and, but it's funny.
You move on.
But I thought of that as we progressed. And I thought, what? There's probably are people out there that have the perception that it's like everything else out there. It's probably super cheap to make, and we're just worried about the dollars and cents, which couldn't be further from the truth. But, I know that. But does, the general public know that? So you have to really be cognizant of how you're portraying your own product out there, too. Like, we didn't want to be cheap. I don't want to be $6.95 if it's a $15.95 product. But True. At the end of the day, if it comes a time where we're, all of a sudden we're selling hundreds of thousands of units and we can get the cost down, that's our goal is to just keep making it affordable. And it's just, I think we're in that sweet spot right now of the $15.95. And who knows, I wish we sold as many as people perceive that we do. We're still not, we're not selling 1,000 of them a week. We're doing okay to keep continuing to move forward. And then that's always the goal is as long as we're growing and we're moving forward, it'll continue to happen,
I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to ask, but I think I understand the concept a little bit, but I was hoping maybe you can help me understand a little more. So before, the Drumtacs were more expensive to make because of labor and the material, or was it just because you weren't making enough? And now is it cheaper because you're making more? Is that basically the concept?
Everything that you just said, all the above, because the chemical you have to order in certain, it's like units. Like, so say we could order X number of units, which will produce X number of packages.
Right.
Now we can order maybe 4 times the amount of the chemical, which will make that many packages. But we're moving enough now that we couldn't afford to keep, we wouldn't have went out and bought $50,000 worth of chemical to make 100,000 units and then only sell 5,000 of those units and have to store 95,000 units.
Because that's an extra cost, right? You got to find
Correct.
where to store it, basically.
Absolutely. So when you take all those variables out, when you start moving them more at a consistent rate and your volume increases, then you're able to buy your core chemicals in bigger bulk, which then, like anything, you buy more of something, the price comes down. Right. And chemicals are the same as, cars or whatever. If I go to a store and I buy one chair, maybe it's $50, but if I bought 1,000 chairs, I can probably get them for $25 a piece, so it's just across the board, the costs start to come down. And then companies make the decision. Does that go directly into your bottom line, to your profit? Or do you now leach some of that back to the consumer? Do you make yourself more competitive in the marketplace, dollars and cents wise? And And, like I said, Christian and I kind of, our goal has always been to get the product into as many drummers' hands as possible, knowing that there's right now, my God, there's 16 gel polymers alone on the marketplace right now.
Really? Wow.
When Moon Gel's patent went out, and again, it's a good product. I'll never bash every product that's out there, because every product has, its niche of what it does. Ours just happens to be the only standalone that has no glue and no adhesive, and we have a patent on it. And that doesn't just say that we're a better product. It just means we're a different product. And our biggest goal is to have drummers realize this is not the same thing that's on the market for the last 20 years. This is something totally different. Don't bash it saying that that's 3 times the cost of whatever the standard gel polymer is right now, that people have been using for 15 years. Try it. And you might find out what everybody else that's using it right now has already found out, that, hey, it is totally different and I can use it in so many different ways. It's not limiting me to just a dampener or I stick it on a snare or a floor tom, that they're using it in so many different, ways right now that it just becomes another tool. So,
yeah. And let me ask you this. I imagine that there is a worry that because it lasts a long time, because it is durable and it's unique and it basically does a wonderful job of controlling the tone, do you ever get worried that maybe the need for new Drumtacs will maybe drop over time? And I don't mean because people don't want to use it anymore. It's just because it's so good of a product that they don't need to replace it often. Is that ever something that crosses your mind at all?
Yeah, because and in a good ways, because I think Christian's goal in the beginning too, and why he brought me into the whole project is that we were never, we're realists, both of us, at the end of the day too, and something that I think we'd rather be that boutique product that people, that finds its niche in the market, but doesn't necessarily. We're not looking at it as being a million unit, just everybody stops using everything on the planet and only uses Drumtacs. It's going to be another tool. It's another tool in the tool belt for drummers. Right. So I'm happy with it being a niche product. But again, as long as we continue to grow, and Christian never stops, because like the new stuff that we've just come out with since the last time you and I have talked, like we got away from the heat stamping now. Now it's a laser.
That's right. Your logo on top now.
Yeah. So it's lasered in. Christian we just started to offer monogramming, where you can have your name monogrammed on your tack, so people can order individually monogrammed Drumtacs.
How
and
crazy!
It's not just for the touring drummers, or it's for whoever wants them. We had some people, we did a run of them a couple months ago, and one drummer just had a motivational, never give up put on the tack, which I thought was awesome. Some people put their names on them. Some people put their band names on them, Christian literally just figured out how to mass produce this now on a more of a volume level. So we're going to be offering like drum shops, if they want to monogram their drum shop name on the tack, they're going to be able to do that, and it really does set us apart literally from everybody at that point.
That's super cool.
Yeah, he's developed UV protectant, which I was going to shoot him in the foot, because the UV protectant now actually makes them last a little longer even. So, yeah, but again, I jest, but I love the guy to death because he's always thinking, but he loves a challenge, and he'll never just sit back and just produce the product and be happy, which is what I love about him. He'll always figure out something new or something cool, and at the end of the day, he built all the machinery that makes it. The lab is something we actually took some video about 2 months ago, and I believe Brady is working on almost like a little documentary on the actual lab of what we could show and not kind of give away patented stuff. But it's cool. It really is. It's a labor of love. He doesn't, like cook it up on his stove in a big chili pot, like I've seen some other products do, but So there's a lot of science behind it, and again, and in a roundabout way, see that like just this year, I mean, we changed the whole mantra and like our operating kind of, our mantra of what we are, and it's basically our logo now. We changed it, I guess, about 12 months ago. So it's superior sound through science. So it's literally we're taking the technical aspect of it, and it's I keep saying it's been fun, man, and I honestly mean that. It's like I wake up every day just kind of charged up to see what we can do next.
I'm excited for you guys. I mean, because you have an amazing product that I've been using, and I want to ask a little bit about your partner, just because I know a lot of my listeners are musicians, but a lot of them are also entrepreneurs, or at least people that have some sort of like side hustle or, projects that they're working on. And good partnerships and bad partnerships, you hear about them all the time. And to me, it sounds like your partnership with Chris works really well. And so I guess I'm curious as to how did you guys meet, and what is it that you think makes your partnership so strong?
He's Chris and I have known each other since I guess I'm about 4 years older than him, and he was more friends with my younger brother when we were growing up. So we grew up together, and we kind of reconnected after college, and then just kind of stayed in touch. And I don't know, it was kind of because we come from such different backgrounds. I think that's exactly why the partnership works, because he's the analytical, technical, scientific kind of likes to research, solve problems. But on the other side of his brain is he's also an amazing drummer, and he likes audio engineering. He's the kind of guy that'll like hit something on a drum to watch the oscilloscope, like just to watch waves bend, and and that's literally kind of how Drumtacs came about. Was he was just not happy with what was on the market, and he wanted to make something that that was worthy of him, like so he could use it. And I tell this story all the time, but it's like Flubber, the movie from Walt Disney. Like he did something one day in the lab, and thank God he takes meticulous notes, and he was trying to get one result and wound up getting the result of this, non-gel binding polymer that has no glue or adhesive in it. And voila, it was like overnight. He said when that prototype was done, he put it on the drum and just sat there and almost just like passed out laughing, because it was doing exactly what he wanted it to do.
How crazy.
Yeah. So we met on a golf course. I was in the car business still. I was a liaison with Lexus, BMW, and Toyota, and been 23 years auto car guy, and just sales and that business background. And initially he just needed somebody to write a business plan for him and kind of give him a direction on how to bring the product actually to market, which I really don't have any background in, but I had enough experience in selling. And so we knew we needed to see just how other drummers were going to react. And I happened to know a few drummers on the West Coast, and I flew out to California with literally like 10 packs of the prototypes, and got them in the hands of Ed Udhus, who's the drummer for Zebrahead. Nice. And Nate Walker, who is the drummer for Lit. And they were the first two drummers to really try the prototypes out in California. And within 4 days, I was rebooking another flight to come out to NAMM. Like they literally started to call drummers and just kind of freak out a little bit about what Christian had developed. And the word spread, and we wound up, long story short, got into a bunch of studios in California. And about 6 months after NAMM is when I got the call from Thomas Lang, and Thomas had used them in a studio and just fell in love with them, and called me up and said that he purchased, I think it was 25 packs to take to Europe on a clinic tour. And he wound up giving away almost every pack of them to each clinic stop that he did, which got us into Europe. And when he got back, he basically, in a nutshell, was like, I'd like to become part of the company. And we all kind of chatted and decided that he was going to be, our marquee drummer right off the bat that was going to endorse us. And that's kind of when we decided to do the open artist policy then too, where anybody that uses the product and endorses the product and talks about us positively and shares some social media, we reshare their content. We help them out then when they do their clinics. We have, artist pricing, and we do clinic packs for all these different drummers. And Thomas was kind of the linchpin. So it was a huge leg up to have somebody like that who's on an international level, such a huge educator and clinician, pretty much telling everybody across the board about your product. And like I said, it opened so many doors so early for us. It was just kind of mind-boggling. Fast forward a couple of years, we have everybody from Dave DiCenzo, who's Josh Groban's drummer, and he's also a faculty member at Berkeley, and so he's using our product at Berkeley. We have Stuart Jean and a lot of the educators like Matt Starr and Ray Lazier when they were teaching at MI. So we're in Musicians Institute. We're down at Loyola University. We're from the state universities in Pennsylvania. Most of the drum departments buy our product, like to use in their practice rooms, and it's amazing the spiderweb effect that just a group of specific drummers had, all by picking the phone up and just making a personal phone call and putting me in touch with. That's how I met Rich Redmond, is because Nate Walker in California literally was like, "Hey, here, I'm going to call this guy." He goes, and I'll be honest with you, I was not a country music fan. I had no idea who Rich was. And he was like, "No, you need to meet my buddy Rich." And then I actually drove down to Nashville and met with him, and we had coffee, and he just loved the product, and he just started to do the same thing. Say, "Hey, all right, now we need to see so-and-so." So I put a hang together, had 20 drummers come into Bar Louie in Nashville. And at the end of a couple weeks, we have another 10, 15 every time we meet drummers that are getting to use the product. So it was just that whole kind of frenetic networking, shaking hands kind of. Never have taken out an ad yet. We haven't had any advertisements. We've not spent any money, although that is going to change, where we're going right now. But everything's been by word of mouth or handshakes, or just I would show up to Nashville with my snare and a cymbal, and we would go into Toyama, which is this it's a sushi Japanese steakhouse outside of Nashville, and the back room, Rich's good friends and Jim, who's one of my partners in my marketing company, they were friends with the owner at Toyama. He would give us the back room. So we would just get on Facebook and just say, "Hey, there's a drum hang at Toyama Wednesday at 7 p.m. And all these drummers would show up, and I would just have my snare, a set of sticks, and a cymbal there, and we would just play with the Drumtacs. Well, after we were done eating, and it was like it was like traveling salesman with my little luggage and kind of spreading the word. So it's it's definitely not been boring. I've gotten to travel all over the place, but I wouldn't change anything. Like companies don't have the money anymore. Just with the advent of how social media has just taken over in the internet, we have the ability now to reach millions, practically for free. We would never be where we're at right now if this was 25 years ago. We would have had to have a $250,000 advertising budget and been taking out ads in magazines, and so it's a godsend for how it is in this day and age, kind of growing up with the product, but it's also where you have to be careful too. And your content's everything. That's why I don't post anything negative. I don't feed into the trolls when somebody tries to egg me on. I'll answer it with syrupy kindness and over the top rainbows and cupcakes and sunshine. And because I know it's pissing them off, I do it just literally just to get a rise out of myself. So, but I will never start a public fight or brawl, or if somebody doesn't like our product, or if they want to just be mean spirited, I let them have their moment and I just move on. I don't let it affect me. So, because it's going to happen regardless. And that's the catch 22. I see feuds starting online right there that just totally turn off for me. And I'm talking about products and like people using a product and then bashing it. And then the owner of that product comes on and starts fighting with them like online. Like, nope. I was like, it looks.
Well, it's unprofessional.
It is
completely unprofessional.
Oh my God. It looks horrible. Absolutely horrible. Yeah.
So I really like the fact that you bring up social media because it's definitely something that it's really not new anymore. It's something that we talk about, and I know it's odd to think about because I definitely did not grow up with it. There was no social media, and then internet came in maybe when I was in elementary school. But social media, relatively, it came to be maybe like 10, 12 years ago. And then recently it's become what it is. But you're absolutely right, where most companies before would have to spend millions of dollars in advertising. And now it's just, you just got to post a video and there you go. And it's accessible. So how do you decide which videos to share when you see them on Instagram, on Facebook? Because I know you have tons of people constantly tagging Drumtacs, so you must get thousands of videos all the time. Which ones do you pick? Is it just like a gut feeling, or do you just kind of see whichever one looks cool? How do you pick?
I try to actually share content of all different styles and genres and everything, and as simple as it sounds, stuff I like that I just think is different, but it's kind of a thank you to whomever it is that's posting. I look at everybody if they take the time and effort to tag us and they're using our product, it's not like I'm looking for the best this or the best that or the coolest quality, or obviously if it's really out of the box and it's just wild and different, it's like a no-brainer, but it's a thank you. It's a thank you that I have a bunch of drummers that, they get creative in their own way. And I know for a fact that at the end of the day, they're out positively promoting us, not just in their videos or pictures, but I get drummers will say, hey, so-and-so said to reach out, or, hey, I'm doing this clinic tour and I'd like to buy some, tax for the promo or blah, blah, whatever. So I look at almost, I'm going to be a little, however you say this, pompous, but that's what I do. When I have an extra 5 minutes all day long, I'm not playing games on my phone. I don't have solitaire. I'm not a gamer. If I'm on my phone, I'm working, and I love to see who's tagging us. So every time I go, I have an extra 5 minutes, I'll jump on my phone and I just look at my hashtags. And it is exactly what you just said. I'll see the top 9 will come up. But then I'll have like a list of who's tagged Drumtacs today. And I just start going through them. And it's like, I love when I see somebody new that hasn't tagged before. And if they're using it in a different way. And then there's a couple dozen that post content every week, and a lot of them get shared a lot because not only are they using our product, but they're positively promoting it, and at the end of the day, it's causing more drummers to go buy our product. So, I look at it as not a reward for them, but a thank you, just for doing a good job. And if it helps them grow their own platform, by me sharing it. We by no means are anywhere close to where I'd like to be on our Instagram. We're just shy of 65,000 followers, but
that's a lot though. It's a nice number.
I'm a numbers guy. So I like looking at impressions, and I like to see, what videos are getting saved, not necessarily just viewed, but how many people are saving them to go back to look at them again? How much is our reach? Like, are we attracting new people to actually end result is click on that website or go to that box retailer or go to Amazon or to Reverb or Sweetwater, and that I'm thrilled. We get 2,500 to 3,000 average views on a new video that's generating 13 to 15,000 impressions. And at the end of the day, it's anywhere from 6 to 800 new reach. People are saving 30 to 40 times. So I'd like to see those. I like those numbers better than if it gets 1,600 likes, or whatever,
That's interesting that you say that, because I think now the whole system of social media is starting to switch just a little bit. Like, it's starting to shift into a new direction, but you're absolutely right. Where before everything was really kind of about the likes, the more likes you got, the better everything was. But now, there's a lot more stuff in play. And when you said impressions and reach, and I think there's a couple more metrics there too that I'm forgetting on Instagram, all that's very important too to kind of take into account, because you can get 1,000 likes, but if no one saved it, then what does that mean? That means that maybe someone just liked it and just moved on and forgot about it. But if you're getting maybe half the likes, but like 50 saves, then all of a sudden you have content that's worth looking at again. And I think from a product standpoint, or from like a store, or even just an artist in general, I think that's something worth noting, that it's not always about the likes or the views really per se, but it can be about the longevity of stuff.
Absolutely. Right? No, I absolutely agree.
I think it's great that you focus on that. And I had a couple questions I wanted to ask before. For your product, right? You mentioned that now you have a distributor in the West Coast or in California. Can you describe a little bit for someone who doesn't necessarily run a business, or maybe interested in doing something similar where they want to sell their product and then move on to the next level, which is distribution? What is the difference in terms of growth? So before, you were basically selling everything on your own, and then you got a distributor. So maybe walk me through a little bit of what a distributor does and how that affected your product.
Yeah, just distribution is we had decided that we were going to keep this self-contained. So at the end of the day, your biggest margin, i.e. the most money you're ever going to make, is when you're controlling every aspect from manufacturing to sales to you're distributing it yourself. So I literally, where I'm sitting right now is I call the cave. I'm in my basement, which is my work area, office / this used to be Drumtac Central, where I used to stamp the DTs on the Drumtacs after Christian did the chemical and polymer, and I did everything here. And then I had the far right of my cave was our post office, where I would package up orders, and then I would run them down to the post office to mail them out. And at the end of the day, you make X number of dollars. Yeah. As soon as you go to distribution, now there is no cave. Christian now developed a lab in Harrisburg, and instead of doing it one order at a time, the distributor buys hundreds of units at a time, and you ship them out to the distributor in bulk. And then his responsibility is to sell more of a volume to the actual entities now selling your product, which is, so it's Amazon, Reverb, it's every online entity you can think of. We're in eBay, we're on Etsy, we're on, it's crazy how many people sell our product now. But the bigger thing is so we're in Sam Ash Music nationally. So all the box retailers, they sell to them. We're in Sweetwater, so they sell to them direct. And then Sweetwater, retails. Drumeo in Canada, even though it's an online school / education entity on the web, they're actually one of our bigger retailers, but they're a box retailer now, where Jared and Dave buy like 500 units at a time. And they not only sell them and retail them, but they use them as a promotional item for Drumeo. So we get exposure that way. But then the distributor, the big picture is then Big Bang sells to BR Distribution in London. And BR Distribution then does what Big Bang's doing in the States, but now in the UK. So they're selling to, the London shops in Ireland and, all around that area. And then we have another distributor in Australia that, again, it's like main distributors get the volume of product, and then they spread it out to the smaller entities that actually sell your product. So in English is if you can do it all out of your basement, you can make a lot of money and be comfortable. to take it to the next level, to spread your product around, you need to go to some sort of distribution outlet, but not necessarily does it have to be a big ticket place like what we do, like Big Bang, because they have 1,400 products. They're a drum distribution house. So that's what they do. You know, you can attain the same kind of level by using smaller little distribution houses. You don't have to sell to the biggest wolf, so to speak, you know, in the woods. You can just kind of have 3 or 4 smaller entities and attain kind of the same type of volume. So there is no right way or wrong way, and we're still evolving with it. You know, whereas we're looking at always moving forward and seeing what's going to help, you know, like in the long run. So we're never going to get locked into one certain way of doing things, and then that's the end all to be all. You can't. That's when you say, "Oh, I made it," and then you find out 3 months later that things are falling apart because you're not putting your best foot forward anymore. You figured, what's the use? I'm getting those checks in the mailbox. You know, it's like I can sit back, and I don't think any entrepreneur like that I know, or just person that just has that kind of zest for life, that I don't ever see me just waking up and not doing anything. Yeah, just that's like it's a foreign concept to me.
Because you love it. I mean, it's part of who you are.
Wouldn't be fun, exactly.
Yeah. One could argue that that's why Drumtacs has been as successful as it is. It's because you kind of have that passion. You have that lust for something fun to do, you know, and Drumtacs, I mean, it just seems like you enjoy making and selling Drumtacs. I
do. And again, I appreciate it. And the sentiment is definitely hits me in the heart. And I love to hear it. But honestly, like in my heart of hearts is we're not even close to making it yet. We're such tip of the iceberg right now. I meet drummers every day that have no idea what the product is. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, because it's like that just gives me more ammo to get out there. And, you know, you can't assume everybody knows about you, because there's so many drummers out there who have no idea what Moon Gel is. And Moon Gel's been the top of the market for a dampening, you know, entity for 18 years. And there's some people go, "Oh, well, what's that?" And you have to look at the new group of drummers coming up right now too.
Yeah.
You know, you can't assume that everybody's already out there playing. It's kids, you know, and the high schools and core, and, you know, that's my big thing. I love education. It's like I spent this afternoon kind of doing a little session with Chuck Treese, and like I said, it was super cool because he showed me a new way he was using Drumtacs. But the reason I was there was to set up a drum clinic for Chuck, that we're going to do a 2 to 3 hour masterclass that we're going to not necessarily just have open it up to drummers that are at like a certain level, but it'll be for kids, and it'll just the sheer joy and passion of drumming, and bring them out and show them kind of what the community is like. And that at the end of the day just naturally drags your product along, is as long as you're associating it with every other thing that you do, you know, and that's what I like to do.
Honestly, I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think you always align yourself with really good people, and you always push your product in a positive way. You did say earlier that you guys are going to be moving in different directions with your product. So I'm curious, is there anything that we can know, or any kind of hints as to what you're going to change, or what new stuff you're bringing to Drumtacs?
All I can say is that the one of the biggest markets out there is the next market we're going into, which is core. So
really?
drum, bugle core, pipe, and, you know, drum cores, anything with big, massive bass drums and concert snares, and yeah, it's actually it's neat.
Nice. And you said it like in 60 days. So around like what, October, November, you're going to make an official release?
We're hoping. Yeah. I mean, it's like anything where the, you know, prototypes are tested out, and it's a matter of kind of fine tuning. And, you know, one thing I do really truly appreciate with Christian is that he puts all of his ducks in a row. There's never a rush to hey, something might happen. It might not happen for a year. I have no idea. But he won't let it happen until it's ready to happen. Like, we'll never just throw it out there to throw it out there. And he's working on another product that's a drum product that has nothing to do with the Polymer 2, which is absolutely just mind-boggling. So it's there's some neat things coming down the road for just his company is Studio Lab Percussion. So technically, I work for Studio Lab Percussion, which is Christian. I just happen to be a partner in Drumtacs, which is our first initial core product. And God willing, I will be in the same light and partnership with him for all the other products coming down the road.
Nice.
So we've separated enough our entities and again, that goes back to a couple questions ago. That's why I think we work so well together, is we know our roles. I don't tell him, his lab scares me. I've only ever been there once. I sat on a chair with my foot up because my foot was bothering me. And I literally I felt kind of anxious and awkward because I did understand one thing that was in there. And that's his realm, Yeah. It's like, so, and he doesn't come sit in a meeting with me when I'm trying to, describe how we're going to attract X number of people to come to, a social event that I'm setting up that's going to set in motion, hopefully say, you know what I mean? It's like, we know our roles and we shut our holes, as they say.
I like that. I like that very much.
Well, I totally stole that off a Deadly Catch. I'm a fisherman, so that was actually one of the captains of a boat said on one of the shows, and I embraced it because it's right. Because you know what? In a nutshell, know your role and shut your hole. You don't have to talk about anything that is out of your wheelhouse. Concentrate on what you do. Do it 110%. Put a smile on your face, and just keep it that way. And if everybody did that, imagine just how harmonious business would be. But 90% of the people have to put their own interjections into something that they have nothing to do with, which causes a majority of stress in business relationships.
Yep.
It's like, I wouldn't say, oh, Christian, why are you doing that with that chemical? You know what I would do? Dude, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So I wouldn't, but there are people out there that do shit like that all the time.
Yep.
Because they have to control. They got to feel like they're in control of the situation,
Oh man, you're spitting so much wise words to me because I think it's something that, it applies to almost everything too. Not just business in general, but it's really a leadership quality to step back and trust that your teammates or that your coworkers or people. Yeah, even like in a band perspective, there's a certain point where you want to be picky and make sure that that the music is right. But at the end of the day, if you're constantly, as the band leader, pressuring every single instrumentalist to do something specific, all the time and just not let them play their music, then, you're going to cause trouble. And you're not going to have a harmonious band or a nice groove happening because everyone's so tense and everyone's kind of annoyed that everyone's in everybody's business. But I honestly think that applies to everything.
And that is true. Because as soon as you overstep your bounds, you're putting that wall up and you're creating animosity to everybody on your team. And you don't want to be perceived as the asshole that freaking knows everything. And because then productivity drops, and it's like anything. If you don't keep a happy house across the board, you're not going to be efficient. You're going to run into problems. And I learned that from the car business. My key was to keep my salespeople happy. And there's times I had 20, 30 salespeople, and if they weren't happy, we weren't selling as what we could be selling. Because they were more worried about some drama or some BS that was going on behind the scenes. You keep everybody as a kind of that core unit. And dude, we would have sales meetings that were funny because we would get everybody pumped up. I would never dress down a salesman if he did something wrong in front of another salesman because I know that would embarrass him and I've seen management styles like that where they're screamers and yellers and you know what? Eventually they wind up getting either let go or replaced because, because numbers drop, and numbers drop that's directly related to how they're managing their floor. And it's like anything in business. So
what's morale,
like I said,
too? It's morale. Yeah.
And I feed on it. And I mean, and I'm on record on multiple platforms saying this about myself, but I love the fact that I hear people talk about me behind my back, my fuzzy, frickin' smiley, happy, flaming bunny, cupcake frickin' mentality, that I'm always Mr. Positive. But you know what? At the end of the day, I feed on it because I know it's annoying people. And at the end of the day, it makes me happy. And I know that I'm not going to be that guy that's going to be on a soapbox spewing negative shit. If there's anything you're going to say about me, go ahead. You know what I mean? I let it roll off my back, but at the end of the day, it's not going to change the fact of who I am. And that's going to be how people remember me, is like, I will find that positive thing and compliment you on it before I say one small little negative thing that is not my place to say to begin with.
Were you always this positive?
Pretty much. Yeah, I've been kind of smacky my whole life.
So there wasn't a specific moment where you maybe lashed out or anything, were upset at something, and then maybe you realized, like, you know what, I need to be more positive from here on out.
I'll let you in on a little secret, and I don't think I don't know if I've ever said this to anybody, but my long time ago, I learned that I was never a fast runner, and I was never the best athlete. I had really good endurance when I was younger and into my 40s. And my kind of filter is when I felt the pressures and things kind of building up. The only person that really used to yell at me about this is my wife, and only because sometimes I would get up at 3 a.m. and I would go hike for like 4 hours before work. Really? with my headlamp on, pitch black, and I would go and literally hike 12, 15 miles before I had to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning, because I would get so stressed out and I was afraid of blowing up. So I would go out and I would, if I had to scream, I would scream. If I would go out and if I had to cry, I'd cry. It wouldn't matter. I'd get out in the woods, and it was like my zen. Like, I would get out and I would just work out all the stresses, and it's worked. It's worked my whole life. And the sad part of that story is now I'm going to be 51. I have arthritis. I'm limited on how much I can actually hike and walk. And so I've now kind of birthed myself more into, I'm doing a lot of meditation. I do at least 15 minutes every night before I go to bed, and I read a lot more. As far as, on transcendental meditation, I have a good friend who's a hypnotherapist who's been helping me kind of rechannel some things. And, the bottom line is I find outlets to get all that negative energy out, because I don't ever want it to build to the point where I snap, because that would not be me. Like,
Well, you wouldn't want to be that anyways. I mean, I think you bring up a good point, because, in the music industry or any kind of industry, you're always going to be faced with frustrations and challenges and just things that you have to deal with, and they can get you upset, and they do build up over time.
Oh, yeah.
The problem is a lot of people don't deal with it in a healthy way. They think that by yelling or by, doing something negative that they're dealing with it, but it doesn't necessarily do that. I really like that you hike, because I'm actually a runner myself. But what I like to do is I actually run on the beach. I love running on the beach. I do it at least like 5 times a week. And I drive out there either early in the morning or like late in the afternoon. And I just run for at least 5 to 8 miles. And with physical activity, and when you do something fun like that, or something that channels that negativity, you start to see how little a lot of the problems are. Yeah. Obviously, there are certain problems that, need to be dealt with. But when you're, going through an avenue where you can deal with your negativity, it allows you to think of the bigger picture. And I think that's important for everybody to do, especially musicians and artists and people that are about to start businesses or have businesses, is to have that channel where they can let that negative energy go so they can think more clearly.
Oh, I agree. I'm in the process. I've had people reach out that kind of know me a little bit more personally and know kind of like how I go about this, and I've been kind of mentoring a few people as far as my biggest challenge I always put forth to anybody that asks for my help is that, like, you have to understand, like, when I go out, and I still go and I'll still walk but when I find that time to be alone, there is no outside stimulus. When I was hiking all of those miles and I was competing, I used to do trail endurance races, and I've done a bunch of 50K, like 31-mile mountain races, and
wow.
But no music, no headphones. Like, I didn't dumb down the whole experience and I love to listen to music, but in that space, like, I did some of my best thinking and just clearest thoughts of, if I was in the woods, I was taking in being in the woods. Like, I wanted to hear the birds and the animals and my feet on the floor and, like the whole 9 yards. So I never ever kind of added another layer with music and stuff. And not that there's anything wrong with that. Some people, that's how they relax. I just found the exact opposite. My mind I was so clear and I could think so deeply when I was out there because it was just me. Like, I didn't have to rely on anything else to quote unquote relax me. That's why I like meditation right now and it's after I just said I didn't listen to music. The one thing I do like about meditation is I've been experimenting with actual frequencies, and it's my buddy Scott Van Fossen down in Nashville. He's a licensed hypnotherapist, and he's the one that kind of turned me on to, there are sleeping frequencies, and you can just Google this stuff. It's fascinating. There's a YouTube continual roll. It's about a 12-hour extended play video that you can put on in the background that is literally like a full moon scene over a beach at night. And you can very slightly kind of hear the waves. It's not like it's intrusive or it's so loud that you feel like you're at a beach, but they have a certain frequency that is playing in the white noise, kind of like the background, that subconsciously you are picking up, but you're not consciously hearing it per se. And I kid you not. One of the best nights I've ever slept in my life was at NAMM this past July at Summer NAMM, because I was staying with Scott at his house, and this is the first time he showed it to me, and I kid you not, it's absolutely insane. Like 6 hours of sleep feels like 10, and you wake up. Now this is just my personal opinion. I don't know if it's because psychologically I convinced myself that this was so awesome, but I know I feel like I am like entirely rested. and dude, and it's like anything. If it works, I'm like, so I've been challenging. I have 4 people right now. We're all in a group where we're sharing our experiences of how we're learning to deal with all the stresses in life. And it's just fascinating. It's just, like I said, I love to try. I'm not a big fan of chemicals or outside stimulus, like I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a pill popper, like pain management kind of person. I like essential oils, and, I'm the first to read up on any type of organic kind of pain management, or, instead of taking Advil. But at the end of the day if it works for you, it's like, there's the alternatives out there that you don't have to. I couldn't function on. I have rheumatoid arthritis. End of story. They want me on oxycodone as a pain management, a long-term care thing for the pain, and I won't do it. I mean, I'm man enough that when the pain gets excruciating, I was just hospitalized for 6 days. That's kind of how bad it gets, is I can't walk. Oh, wow. Anti-inflammatory, they do morphine and oxy because I can't sleep. But as soon as I'm out, I detox right off of it, and I'm back to my peppermint essential oils and CBD oil underneath my tongue. And, it's like I have my ways of dealing with it because I can't exist in that half state of, most chemical type of pain management out there. It really does dumb you down. Like you can't think straight, and it's not worth the cessation of pain to not be able to think straight. So I'm actively always looking for a better way of, and I'm not a drink a bottle of vodka, God forbid, which, a lot of people do. They self-medicate, they self-medicate for all different reasons. And some are not necessarily just bad reasons, but sometimes people are in pain and that's the only way they know to dumb it down is to get, hammered, and it's just, I'm definitely not, that doesn't work for me. And so I try to find the most harmless way that I can still get some relief, but at the same time, not put myself into a self-induced coma, like for the day,
Well, you got stuff to do, man.
Well,
you got a business to run.
Absolutely, man. Got kids to chase around and places to go, man.
Life to live.
Well said. I like that. You do.
Honestly, JC, you've inspired me a lot. For a lot of the listeners that don't know, I use Drumtacs myself. And like I mentioned, I bought them 2 years ago. And then I've just been using them ever since. And I think one thing I noticed from you right off the bat, you were very transparent as to who you were. You were very friendly, but also very straightforward from the very beginning. You always told me what you expected. I think I even might have asked you, like, I was curious about endorsements and you were just very much straight up like, hey, you know what? We're not doing this at this moment, but you know what? I love the stuff that you're doing. So we're going to share it and we're going to support as much as we can. Like,
yep.
Basically what you said is what you were telling me 2.5 years ago when I first heard of your product. And you haven't changed that at all. You've maintained that main core of what makes Drumtacs so great. I'm a firm believer that no matter where you take your product, no matter what new innovations you have, whether you change the logo or whatever, if you have that core mentality, that transparent, honest mentality with your company and your product, then the customers will just keep flocking to you because you can definitely tell when there's a genuine person running a company and when it's just a front for something else.
Oh, I
agree.
agree.
What I mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I appreciate that, man. And like I said, it's if I could say anything to anyone, and I mean, just as short and to the point as possible, is limit your gray area. I mean, that's something my father taught me. It's like things are black or white in the world, and the people that make them gray are the ones that muddy up and whether they're doing it on purpose or not, is just speak what you are thinking. Don't candy coat it. Don't be rude. There's ways of saying certain things if it's, don't ever be hurtful. But the more gray you interject into anything, the more you just leave yourself open for interpretation, where you could mean one thing and somebody might take it the other way. But if I tell you directly to your face, like you said, what I expect, and it's never in a mean or nasty or, way, but it's like, it's
honest. It's just
honest.
Life's
too short. Why? It's just, I look at that's like calling bullshit on people. It's like, don't frickin' tell me what I want to hear. Tell me what you need to tell me. Don't candy coat it.
Let's move forward.
And exactly. Let's deal with it. And it's like, it seems like such a simple concept, but people, because everybody tries to be PC too anymore, which drives me insane. Yeah. There's another show for another day. But it's just, you know what I mean? You could talk about that.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. It's like, I get it. And, the common thing there is be decent to people. Treat people like you'd like to be treated. You would never have to worry about being PC on anything. But when you try to overthink it and then you gray it up by, oh, well, I can't say this to this person because they'll get offended. Or it's like, no, talk to them like a normal human being and don't be rude. And 99.9% of the time, your conversation is going to be all right. And you have nothing to worry about. As soon as you start tiptoeing, you
start to trip over things that aren't even there.
Dude, that's exactly it. That was Very well said. But that's the truth.
Yeah.
You trip over things that aren't there. Absolutely.
I think what your dad told you is very important. You know, the gray area. One thing that I'm really fascinated by now, and like you said, we could honestly spend a long time talking about this stuff. But, you know, and I think it's important for artists to hear is that, you know, life really is black and white. You know, it's either a yes or no for a lot of things. Hey, I want to start my own YouTube channel. Well, then go do it. I mean, that's the simplest I can put it. And one thing that I take away from what you say, we as humans are notorious, or society in general are notorious for trying to make excuses for things, right? But the reality is the only reason why you do something or you don't do something is because you either want to do it or you don't. My encouragement, at least to some of the people that I talk to, is just make up your mind. It's okay if you don't want to do something. It's okay if you see a video and you're like, you know what? I'm not into the whole video making thing. That's fine. Own it. But if you have an inclination of like, I can kind of maybe do that, well, then go ahead and do it. There's no middle ground. There's no excuses. It's just yes or no. And that's at least my interpretation from what you were saying. And I think it applies to so many things.
Yep. No, I agree. Absolutely.
Man, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak with me. I mean, I think I learned a lot from you, especially about running a company. I mean, it's a unique skill to have. That's for sure. And I think you guys are definitely going to do great things with Drumtacs. And honestly, I can't wait to keep in touch with you and see what you guys end up doing.
No, absolutely, Eddie. I appreciate your time also. And it's like I said, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, man. And if I can say anything to anybody that's listening out there, I am probably the easiest guy in the world to get a hold of. So I'm always up for meeting new people and networking. So please reach out. And any Drumtacs, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, is direct message right to me. I don't have a staff. I don't have interns. All the messages come to my phone. So
he's always on his phone. He's always on his phone.
They come right to me, man. And honestly, I can say is I get back to every message that gets sent to me. Sometimes I can't get back for an hour if I'm in the middle of a meeting or something. I don't ever let them go more than a couple hours, though, and very rarely, unless one time it happened when I was camping and I had no cell service, and it actually bothered me. I got back to reality, and I had two messages that like I got on a Saturday, and this was like Sunday afternoon, and it literally crushed me a little. Like I felt guilty because I made them wait, you know. So,
and then you meditated for an hour to make sure that you didn't feel guilty.
Dude, man, I love it. I do. Well, that's why I'm growing the big white beard, man. I want to, I'm going after that guru look.
Dude, and it's working for you. I mean, it keeps getting longer every time I see you. It just grows another, like, a couple inches.
It's amazing what not shaving will do, man. That's the secret, man. You just don't shave.
It makes you look wiser. It just makes you look wiser.
I like it.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, take care. Thank you so much, man.
Dude, Eddie, I appreciate the time, man. It's been a blast. Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with JC Clifford. I am honestly amazed by the growth of Drumtacs and the impact that it has made on the drumming community. It's very rare when a product can come out of nowhere and everyone all of a sudden wants to use it. And this is definitely what we've gotten with Drumtacs. And I'm very honored to have gotten to know JC throughout these years. And I've learned so much about his way of life and the way he approaches business. And I hope that you learn something too. The truth is, it doesn't matter whether you want to be an instrumentalist or maybe you have a product that you want to sell. Take from JC's experience and use social media to promote your product and get it out there. Because like he said just a couple of years ago in the past, it would have cost millions of dollars to reach this kind of audience, but now it's at your disposal for free. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. One last thing, JC asked me to share this since we didn't get a chance to talk about it in the episode. He's hosting a drumathon on October 15th in Dallas, Texas, where musicians and friends are coming together to make a difference in the fight against breast cancer. This is something amazing that he's doing. He's always working on stuff that betters everyone. And so if you're interested in learning more information or how to donate, I'm going to include a link in the episode on my website, on my Facebook, and I'm sure that JC's Facebook pages and all social media profiles are going to have links to it. So feel free to check that out. I'm sure you're going to like it.